Hello, I'm Johnny Johnson, and today we're talking about Collegia and gangs in ancient Rome. Were they as political and violent as shown in the HBO series? Well, they could be, so let's take a look. Collegia in ancient Rome could and did act like gangs throughout Roman history, but they are mostly known for being professional organizations. They could be social, political, or religious groups. They could be people who all worked in a trade or craft, or even a burial society that guaranteed its members funeral rights. Often Collegia had a charter that could span the interests of many in the civilian and political world. The fictitious Aventine Collegium created in the HBO Rome series operated rackets like prostitution and extortion, but also for a time helped administer the public grain dole. The grain dole was a sort of guaranteed ration of grain that the public could buy at a fixed or discounted rate from the state. Isn't that great? All such activities were possible for influential collegia, particularly the Aventine Collegium, which in the show is run by Varenus and Pullo, who are well connected politically to Mark Antony. The rich, influential, and/or political often became patrons of Collegia. These patrons could provide money, employment, or lucrative opportunities for these organizations. Managing the grain dole with a little corruption, for example, could be highly profitable. Naturally, some of these influential patrons made requests from Collegia. This could include intimidating voters or other politicians, using violence, or even disrupting the business of a rival merchant or other collegia. The Senate and rulers of Rome have held different views on collegia throughout history. In 64 BC, the Roman Senate banned all civil and political collegia due to public disorder, which included the staging of riots to disrupt elections. In 58 BC, Publius Claudius Pulcher, a popular tribune, legally revived the banned groups. It was a bold move that saw him gain significant popularity with the urban poor and freedmen who joined less savory collegia. It was during this time that gang violence rose to an ultimate high, and Claudius used his influence with these gangs to force his political enemies like Cicero into exile. However, the violence caught up with old Claudius. He was killed on January 18, 52 BC, after a violent street brawl on the Appian Way. He and his political rival, Titus Annius Milo, both traveling with armed men, encountered one another, leading to a fatal skirmish where Claudius was stabbed and killed. Claudius's supporters and political gang members later carried his corpse into the Senate House and created a funeral pyre that also burned the building down. In the late 40s, Julius Caesar had had enough of the violence and permanently banned all but the most ancient and vetted collegia. Following this, Augustus reinforced the ban, but allowed for collegia to operate more like officially licensed institutions or corporations. Law known as Lex Lulia Collegiis was passed in 21 BC. New collegia could form, but would have to be licensed from the Senate or Emperor. Their property would further have to be registered, and men or even the state could take legal action against them. Some guilds were folded tightly under the state umbrella, even acting at times as police or administrators. Most collegia reverted back to their apolitical traditions of acting as mutual aid societies for their members, or acting as neighborhood religious associations, for which is their strongest association throughout Roman history. The gang violence to the level shown in HBO's Rome would have been the exception, not the norm. Alright, I'm Johnny. Thanks for watching this video on Roman Collegia. If you want to gang up on the like button, please do so. Also, don't lose your tongue. Leave a comment. But otherwise, do take care and have a nice rest of your day.